So we wanted to start off with an introduction, and I wanted to talk about some of the higher level strategic trends in higher education today. And I wanted to start with a quote. And I want you to read this quote. One side effect of rapid growth has been the creation of an increasingly large obligation for the future renewal and replacement of the physical plant. This sounds very familiar, and this could have been written last week. And what's very interesting is that this was written in 1980, 34 years ago. This is when, as an industry, we began really talking about the concept of deferred maintenance and the need for campus renewal. You'll hear us talk about different periods of growth in a few slides. The difference between today and 1980 is that we're facing challenges today that weren't there in years gone by. It used to be we could answer a lot of the problems that we had with growth. We saw expanding enrollment, bringing in more students. We saw rising fees, bringing in more dollars. And the reality is that we can't really respond like that anymore. There is an overall decline in the number of high school graduates across the country in many states. This is particularly present in a lot of states in the Northeast and the South, where enrollments are beginning to actually decline. The number of students to attend institutions, it is not going up like it has in years past. We're coming out of the recession, and resource levels at institutions have not yet responded on the facility side to get back to where they were in 2009. We'll explain this both on the operations side and on the capital side as well. Outside support from states is steady at best. In most states, it's declining. Again, the capital and operating investments for campuses have fallen in terms of real dollars and when you adjust for inflation. And we're in this particularly interesting time now, and we'll talk about this in great detail. We have two groups of spaces right now competing for the same renewal dollars. Spaces that were built in the rapid expansion within higher ed in the 1950s and the 1960s, as well as complex, newer structures built in the time from 1995 that require keep up the dollars to keep them functioning the way they should. And what we think we need to do is actually change the conversation about this. And this is an interesting kind of visual that we've put together. In the last 3 years, we've reacted to a lot of the decline in resource availability by, looking for ways that we can cut operations and looking at ways that we can decrease capital spending. And that's appropriate. When you don't have the dollars to spend, we have to find ways to reduce overhead impact. And the one thing that we didn't see right away that we're starting to see now, and we'll talk about a lot, is discussions of the root causes. And we really think that those root causes that affect operations come in two discrete families. Issues that surround space and issues that surround capital allocation. We're starting to see conversations around campuses right now that are really focused on, do I have enough space? Am I utilizing the space that I have in the best possible way that I get the most value out of it? Do I have ways that I can use my physical assets better so I can release hidden value, as we call it? And this is a discussion that is oftentimes replacing that of what's the next building that we build. And it's an important one. And then finally, on the capital side, we all know that capital dollars are going to be largely down, especially in the public arena. But the reality is that it's oftentimes not about how much you have, it's about what you spend it on. And making sure that we have capital allocation strategies that not only do the most to enhance the program of the institution, but also do enough to simultaneously maintain the technical assets and reduce a lot of the critical backlog issues that have been accumulating over time.